a museum display. His wounds would leave a normal man in jeopardy of his life, but Jacob simply pulled the branches through the flesh where they had gored him, and while his clothing remained torn and bloody, his wounds miraculously began to close up and heal almost instantly. As his body underwent the amazing recovery, Jacob ran over to his big apple pea cap, laying on the ground. He shook it clean of dust and pulled it tightly to his head, then ran off after the clean-painted giant with the red beard and the boy who was holding his axe. The path was easy to find and follow. The boy ran towards the waterfront. The giant barbarian left a trail of smashed and broken trees, indicate his single-minded intention of retrieving his weapon. As Jacob made his way through the thick woods of damaged trees, he could hear the boy shouting for somebody to help him. Jacob increased his pace until he came to a clearing 100 yards from where the lone wall of the 100-year-old Bronx Beach Club once stood alongside the many private resort clubs that once dotted the now unkempt and wild waterfront. The boy, his back to the old red bricks, held the axe with two hands in front of him, as if to ward off the giant barbarian. "Get away!" shouted the boy. "Leave me alone!" The giant again reached for the handle of the bearded axe. "I am the son of Rod. Nothing will stop my hand." Jacob knew he couldn't clear the distance between them in time to stop the giant with force. "Young man, put down the axe! Throw it to the ground! Just give it to him!" Jacob shouted, desperate that the boy comply. "No! Get back! I found it! It's mine!" The red-bearded giant grabbed the axe handle, his giant hand enveloping the boy's hands in his grip. "No!" shouted Jacob, seemingly in more pain than when he was battered across the park and impaled on broken tree limbs. His hands stretched out, but he was not that fantastic that they would distort themselves and cover the distance needed by will alone. Jacob had spent many years working to assure that type of cosmic event would not radiate on his world. The darkening skies tore open as a huge thunderbolt traveled the distance from the heaven to the earth in less than a heartbeat. The massive discharge of energy occulted the boy and the giant as if reclaiming them both from whence the giant had just arrived. Jacob had seen many amazing things even since before that sad Passover day when he took the Roman's lash to protect the kindly water girl. Jacob had seen what he had believed to be the subtle works of God and the brash efforts of man, and those not quite God or man, to duplicate them. But this awesome display, with the workings of hands, even the long-lived Jacob had only read about in books ancient when he was still young. This was a power that unleashed could destroy cities that mankind would never find trace. But at the center of the strike, where the boy and the red-haired giant once stood, was now a lone figure in the smoke and flying debris. Jacob walked closer to the figure, who was still hidden by the airborne detritus. Closer still, Jacob saw the figure was neither the young boy nor the bald, red-bearded giant, but a third individual he had not as of yet seen. Replacing the two, who Jacob trailed into the woods, was a man who stood as tall and as wide as the giant, but his bald pate was covered in long red hair, braided at either temple. He was youthful, but not so young as the boy to not wear a full beard. The ancient raiments of the barbarian giant now replaced with a modern-day black, silver, and bronze armor that would make the top Hollywood designers jealous in their concept and application. The new figure looked himself over with a surprised scrutiny similar to Jacob's own. The red-haired warrior approvingly nodded at what he saw. He looked at the tooled belt and checked its tautness. He twisted and turned his now metal-gloved hand, still holding the unchanged bearded axe. He felt its heft in its hand. This new giant looked at Jacob with eyes green and brimming with arcane power and said, "Cool!"
You've been listening to Jim Dynamo's Bad Machine. Be part of the radio revolution by following our Twitter page at Bad Machine Radio and by visiting Jim Dynamo's Bad Machine on Facebook. Bad Machine is a one-man media production, the exclusive owner of all original content. Otherwise, no rights are reserved. 2016. You've been listening to Jim Dynamo's Bad Machine. Be part of the radio revolution by following our Twitter page at Bad Machine Radio and by visiting Jim Dynamo's Bad Machine on Facebook. Bad Machine is a one-man media production, the exclusive owner of all original content. Otherwise, no rights are reserved. 2016.